What's up YouTube? My name is Christopher Moore, and in this video of the Laravel and GraphQL series, I'm going to walk through how to create queries using Lighthouse. We're going to pick up where we left off in the last video, and we're going to remove the default queries Lighthouse provides for us, and we'll replace them with our own custom fields. Then we'll take a quick look at Lighthouse's API and the helpers it provides for us out of the box to query data and reduce the amount of boilerplate code in our project. So let's get started. Right, so if we take a look at the schema that Lighthouse provides for us, you'll see that it defined a type called user, which actually points to our user model, and a query, which has two fields, users, which will return a list of users, and a single user, which requires an ID and returns a single user. You'll also notice that these schema directives have been placed here as well. Lighthouse heavily uses these schema directives in its API. To help us reduce the amount of boilerplate that's needed to resolve certain fields for us. You can think of schema directives a bit like middleware, where they can run before or after resolvers to transform either the output or to replace the output altogether. So going back to our schema, we're going to replace these defaults and we'll define our own custom resolver by placing a field directive and give it the resolver argument of user query. This is a bit similar to how you would define a controller inside of Laravel. So we're going to give the class name and the method name all, and we'll do the same for the user field. So resolver user query, and we'll call this one find. And for right now, we'll remove the EQ directive. All right, so let's go ahead and create that class. So if I go up to, or actually first, inside of our Lighthouse configuration file, you'll see a section for namespaces. And Lighthouse knows to look in a particular namespace because of these settings, this configuration. So for queries, it's going to look inside of our app GraphQL queries namespace. So I have that set up here, and I'm going to create our user query class and namespace app GraphQL queries user query. And the first one defined was all, which is going to return all of our users inside of our database. And the next one was find. All right, and that requires an ID. So if we take a look at the schema, again, we're going to see that the user field has an ID argument. And we're going to actually change this to non-nullable, so we'll make it required. So inside of our resolver here, we are given our root type, which is the query, so that's going to actually be null for this. Then we're going to get our array of args. And here we're going to return app user, and we'll say find args ID. And again, we don't need to check and see if that's set because inside our schema, in order to ask for the user field, you're required to pass an ID. All right, so let's fire up our server. Just going to listen to port 8000. And it's going to be on our GraphQL endpoint. All right, so we'll start with our users, which should just return an array of users. So we have our ID, we'll ask for email and the name. Run it, and here are our list of users. And now I'm going to replace this. We'll ask for a single user with the ID of 1. And there we go. All right, so returning back to this, the main purpose of Lighthouse is actually to reduce the amount of boilerplate, but also give you as much freedom as possible. So for here, since we're just asking for all the users in our database, we can use the all directive. And for this, we can use the find directive. Again, because of our namespaces that we have set up, Lighthouse knows to look for a model named user. Now, the find directive, we actually want to add EQ. And this is basically saying it's going to adjust the query builder. So it's essentially writing for us app user where ID equals ID first. All right, so let's go ahead and try this out. And actually, before doing so, I'll actually delete our user query class since it's no longer needed. We run this, so we got the user with the ID of 1. We'll change that to 2. There we go. And now we'll change this to users and get all of our users. And there we are. All right. And in the next video, we'll take a look at relationships and some of the built-in helpers that Lighthouse provides for us for some of the relationships that we'll define. So see you in the next video.